thought that we were done talking about Australian horror. No. Australian horror goes hard, and Dangerous Animals is meant to be absolutely brutal. This horror thriller, directed by Sean Byrne, who also did Devil's Candy, Loved Ones, is going to be violent. But how violent? Will it test your limits? We're gonna find out today if it's gonna test mine, and I'll let you know whether it's gonna be worth your time and suit your own personal taste, so you know whether it's worth your money and your time going to see it in cinemas. Is it worth the big screen experience? The movie is about a savvy, free-spirited surfer who falls into the clutches of a very dangerous man. Now on his boat, she must figure out how to escape before the feeding starts. If you've seen this trailer, I've seen it a couple of times, and it is brutal. I think it's pretty straight up what's going on. This might not be a mystery movie. I'll let you know if it does hold back much from the trailer, but I've been invited to a pre-screening today, and the person who invited me, the PR person who invited me, said that they already saw it and it was terrifying. So that is a good sign. That's a great sign. So let's go along today, see Dangerous Animals, another Australian horror, and me, an Australian, will let you know whether it's worth your time. Let's go. Well, okay. I enjoyed that, but there are truly some flaws in this film, and it's so annoying because it's almost fantastic, and then there are some things that I know you guys are gonna feel a certain way about, because I am very positive, I like to think, optimistic, and there are a few beats in this film. But everything else was actually fantastic. That's why it sticks out so much. But this film is a lot, I wouldn't say fun because that would be psychotic, but it's very entertaining, and I was definitely on the edge of my seat. Literally, I was sitting like this throughout a lot of that film, rocking around in my chair. It was very fun, very thrilling, very exhilarating, but it is quite a straightforward story. So they set up at the start, if you have seen the trailer, it is a very straightforward film, so it's not like you really know anything in the trailer that you don't see within the first kind of 10 minutes or work out that's gonna happen. I want to say it's a very simple film. I wouldn't say it's predictable, but it's a very simple, straightforward movie. It's not very twisty or turny. Those are professional terms, of course. The film follows Zephyr, who is a surfer, you know, trying to get away from it all, and she's just a lone wolf, and she meets this man who has a very interesting hobby. They do set up the man and all of his character at the very start of the film, and then they go to her. So do not worry if you feel like you know too much. It's not that kind of film. It's more about just watching it play out and all of the acting and the ability that this character has to completely steal the show. But Zephyr, the girl who played Zephyr, was fantastic. She is an American tourist in Australia, and she really held her own, because sometimes it is a little bit stereotypical and over the top, and she really was redeemable, but I don't think she was like a caricature of herself, but I think that they were all very well constructed characters. Jai Courtney plays the mysterious man in this film, and my god, he plays it so well. It's so sinister. I'm sure a lot of people are going to say that this film is like Wolf Creek, but for me, and if you don't know any Australians, this is a completely different prototype. Wolf Creek is in the bush. This is coastal, so it's set in surfers' paradise around Queensland on the coast, which means absolutely nothing to a majority of you guys, but it's coastal town, and they deal with boat people in this film, so it's a completely different breed, and I really enjoyed seeing that in a film. It definitely blends a lot of the cool surfer films that people probably know from Australia into horror. And with saying all of that about it being very straightforward, it did have a lot of very interesting scenes that I didn't see coming, and just Zephyr and her abilities are endless, and they will definitely surprise people. I really hope you guys get to go and see this one as soon as you can, so one scene in particular doesn't get spoiled for you. If you like gore, it definitely delivers with some, as I said, it wasn't twists, but there were some surprising moments that very much make it worthwhile and set it apart. Obviously, the film has sharks, so the sharks in the film I think looked fantastic. I was jaw on the floor in some of the scenes, and I think that was all done very well. I'm actually quite surprised this has an MA rating in Australia, and I'm really surprised it has an MA rating for what's in the film. I don't really follow the classifications that close anymore, but just seeing it on the screen before it started, I was so shocked because there is a lot of intense violence, obviously, but they are not scared to show it, and it is a film that has a lot of action scenes. In saying all of this, it is a very fun, I can't say fun, can I? That sounds so crazy. It's a very thrilling, edge of your seat horror thriller that has a lot of action and some really fun, kind of straightforward characters. It's just fun to see them interact and fun to see these actors get lost in the roles and build these characters around certain hints you get about their background. They don't go too into detail, and it just is a very satisfying movie, the cat and mouse of it all. In terms of the setting and cinematography, I thought there was some really interesting angles, and they do play around with cameras in a different way in this film, but it's pretty straightforward. I just think that there are some really cool scenes that aren't gory, that incorporate music of all things, and they go really hard on the soundtrack, bringing in different songs to have different meanings, and incorporating a lot of big songs here in Australia, and it gives a lot of sinister character and energy to the characters. But music is a huge aspect of this film, and I think they do just as much of playing around with the characters, being tongue-in-cheek, as they do putting them into sinister and scary situations. There's quite a balance. You are meant to laugh at points. It is meant to be so insane and terrifying that it's funny, just some of the one-liners and things like that, so they have fun with it as well. And of course, I did already say, but the graphics are fantastic, I thought. They're not scared to show a lot. I don't know how they captured a lot of that. I think it was fantastically done. They show just enough, and it's very satisfying. You don't really want to see more, to be honest. It's too much. But they definitely do not stray away from gore or graphics or, you know, showing that in certain elements. And everything I saw was quite believable. But I will say my problem with this movie is the progression, because there are points of this movie where they just take logic and they throw it out the window, which is totally fine in a lot of films, especially horror movies. You're meant to suspend your disbelief. But in this film, there are points where it just jumps forward, it feels like, in time, and almost instead of trying to connect how this would happen to solve an issue or a problem, they just scrap that and don't worry about it, and they just jump ahead. And it's really careful with everything else it does. So when it does jump ahead in logic, or, you know, people finding out certain things, it is really unsatisfying because it really has lured you in. You believe all the characters, you're sitting right there, you're holding your breath, and then you go, huh? How would, and that happened a couple of times, and you could hear people going, and I don't know what happened there, if it was an edit that I just don't understand. I don't understand. And it seems like such a straightforward and logical film. Just the smallest parts. Then it does make a recovery, but then it does it again in another small part. There's two parts where I felt that. But if you're okay with kind of just letting those things go, and you're there to go see some cool graphics, some pretty gnarly gore and violence, cat and mouse, thriller on the edge of your seat, terrifying, especially if you're scared of sharks or the water, this one is so fun. It's such a fun, I said it again, it's such a fun movie to see in the cinema. Obviously, I am a huge fan of Australian horror movies, but this one I felt was really satisfying. I was almost going to give it an 8, but those points took it away from me, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. But it's definitely a film I would watch again. I know people have problems with violence of this kind of manner, and it does toe the line, and I did think about that throughout the film. But if you're a fan of films that are kind of cat and mouse, you're going to get that out of this. I would say there's a little bit of deeper undertone about, you know, the spirit of survival and fighting, and Zephyr is a really good character in this film. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward film, and it's a very satisfying night out at the cinema. For originality, I'm gonna give it like a 3. And for scare and gore, I'm gonna give it a... It's more thrilling, I would say, than scary, but if you're scared of sharks, you're shit out of luck. I would probably give it a 6. All in all, great experience. I just know a couple of things are going to really bother people, and it kind of just took me out of the moment, but it's no biggie. I would love to rewatch this film. I found it deeply satisfying. Straightforward and satisfying for all psychotics. Anyway, that is how I felt about Dangerous Animals. I hope you guys will go out and see it if it sounds like your kind of thing, and support some Australian horror movies. And I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Don't forget, for those who like to watch movies at home, I have done a list of so many movies and TV shows, horror and thriller, that you can watch from the comfort of your own home this month. I have dates, I have where to watch them, everything is laid out for you here. Subscribe if you like horror, thriller, and disturbing movies. I try and make a lot of videos that are helpful for you, and I love bringing you along with me. So I'll see you again very soon for another Come With Me. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.